like backing track, I had a real moment where for the first time I was just like, oh, I understand something, like just about the structure of the music, because like I didn't really dig into the tunes too deeply, especially the solo sections, but like just the way it's notated with like the Allen symbols and you writing, translate that into like English, like, you know, equivalent Dorians or whatever jazz scales. So that really made a lot of sense, because I was just like, for me, if I play through like, you know, our tunes and Marvin, whatever, like, you know, if we're doing like 4 measures of 2 chords that happen to be from the same scale, or they change and they're really coming from the same place, I would never just jump around the guitar fishing for inversions of those chords, right? I would move structures from the scale up, chordal harmony, stuff like that. So it was actually very, very nice to see that it's a similar approach, right? But like just the chord. So here's a question: the way that you would send me how would Alan's chart to his bassist or keyboard player look? Would it be similar to what you sent me?
No, they don't. He doesn't give them charts. He just like, they listen to the tunes. He sends them like either him playing the song, and they have to figure it out, you know.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, and then like I think I had heard like when Evan Marion got the gig, I saw some video of him talking about contacting like either Jimmy Johnson or one of the other guys and getting some charts or whatever that they had made, you know. So, but like from what Alan talks about is like he just, or like Gary Husband too, like Gary Husband talked about how Alan would just send him, like he's just tapping his foot in a room and he just plays this form of the song. You know? And then Gary Husband has to figure out, you know, what the time signatures are and all that sort of stuff, you know, because Alan, like the way he thinks about rhythm is everything is one, right? So whenever like
that's how Buddha thinks too.
Yeah. So like when I notated like low levels, high stakes, right? There's a bunch of anticipations written into the form of the tune. To Alan, it's, you know, like all his phrases and everything are in like, you know, 7 and 9, then 4, it'd be like a couple bars of 4, then 7, then 9, then a bar 4, you know, and it's like, but they're really, the underlying rhythm that's going on is all in 4. You know,
but okay, so what you're trying, like when you say everything's in one, it's like you're saying every time a chord changes.
So yeah, so to Alan, instead of those actually being anticipations, they're
like a bar of 7/8,
a bar of 7/8 or a bar of 9/8, right? And I notated that solo both ways. And I looked at it both ways, and I was like, you know, I mean the way it is in the book is, you know, I was trying to do it how I felt it should probably be notated, not the way Alan would do it necessarily, but I do talk about, and I have examples of his phrases, like in the rhythm chapter where I'm talking about rhythm. I have examples of his phrases in 9 and in 7 and all that from that tune. And then I have them the way I notated them, which is with the anticipations. And, you know, it gets messy. Starts to look kind of messy, you know. It was a really difficult song to notate.
I mean, yeah. And also, I mean, I can imagine how, I mean, I wonder if like my rhythm section, if I just told them like from now on, I'm tapping my foot, playing guitar, recording on my iPhone, can you guys figure everything out? I mean, guessing the answer would be no.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that he had good friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, you know, another funny story was Steve Hunt was talking about, I can't remember what tune it was, but he was talking about going up to Gary Husband one night, you know, the drummer, and asking him about a particular section. And he said, hey, man, I'm kind of counting this section like this or whatever. And he counted it. And he said, is that what's going on? And he said, Gary Husband just gave him the weirdest look ever. And they never spoke about rhythm ever again. You know, it's like Gary Husband just gave him a strange look, like, no, man, that's not even close to how I'm thinking about it. You know, so
they're just like, let's just deal with it on our own terms and see what happens.
Man. So it's like, you know,
I told you what happened in our van, because we were in Sellersville, and like they wanted Dani to come and play.
Yeah.
I think like one of the tunes, like I think it was like Fred or Protocosmos, and we're on the van, and Haslip's like, oh, so it's like it's a C major 7 going to a G minor, and then Alan's like, major, it's a C minor, and it's like, and then he keeps saying the and like every other chord is like, it's like, no, that's like a D flat. Like he gets the quality is all wrong, and like every change, and then like Alan's like, what the fuck have we been playing all these years?
That's funny, man. Yeah. I mean, you know, they're all dealing with it in their own way. And like Alan said, that's what he likes. He likes people to just deal with it their own way. He likes to let the bass players decide what the root notes are, what the bass notes are going to be or whatever. Like he doesn't dictate, you know, this is what the bass note is or anything. He just plays it for them and lets them figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot, like, just me as a musician, the way I deal with bassists, you know, and like, I can't imagine, like, but I'm not like open-minded about like the harmony or something, you know, but also like our music is so not outside. So,
right.
I mean, I'm guessing in like, especially when they were playing trio, it's so avant-garde sounding that like, even if it was, you know, a major or minor third on that chord and Alan's just blasting through it, I'm guessing it probably doesn't matter.
Well, hey, man, if it's major, it's just a sharp 9, man. It's a sharp 9 on a major chord. It's all good. You can,
yeah. That's on the good note. No problem.
Yeah.
It's all mode 10.
Yeah. Mode 10. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's like I can always, like even the live stuff, live albums and stuff like that. Like I hear the chords changing, you know, I hear Alan's scales changing and stuff, so I can hear it, but like it's through a lot of years of listening and like a lot of years of studying it and stuff like that, you know. But
I just came up with the perfect name for you and Thomas's new metal band. You guys are going to be Mode 11.
Mode 11. There you go. I like it.
There are really no wrong notes. Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Well, can we let's talk Tokyo Dream for a minute. So
all right. Well, I can show you his chart and stuff, and we could talk about his symbols a little bit, and then
yes, that'd be great.
What scales he actually plays, you know, versus what the chart says. So can I screen share?
Yes, let me pull it up. Screen share. There you go.
So boom. All right, so this is Alan's chart that he made, right? It was floating around on the internet. So the X's are Dorian, right? Yep. And if it has like a circle around it, it's melodic minor, which this tune doesn't really have anyway. Mm-hmm. Down here, well, it's so diminished, you can see he's got all the available diminished off every root written there.
Okay, and he would write it for his simplicity's sake. It like helps him think or something.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is F sharp X?
Yeah. So it's weird. Like sometimes he writes like the minor and the major, what the major key would be, and I could never really figure out why. But there's certain charts like that. So, you know, like down here too, you've got like the B Dorian and A major.
But why is the A on top?
Yeah, I don't know. That I don't know. I couldn't figure out. I mean, unless I got to talk to him or something, I wouldn't know why
Okay.
those particular things. But
Okay, so like sunglasses is diminished. X is
right,
in.
yeah. And
What's
down here, this B flat with the gamma symbol, that's the major flat, add flat 6 scale.
Okay.
Right? So, and then these are all actually subsets of this. So he wrote these different subsets, right? So this would be G harmonic minor.
Okay.
This is like C Dorian sharp 4, which is a mode of harmonic minor. So I don't even know why he has like a separate symbol for that. You know, I mean, there's some weird things that I don't exactly know.
And that E flat is it's like
that'd be melodic minor sharp 4.
Melodic minor sharp 4.
Yeah, so it's basically harmonic major.
So wait a second, what's X without a circle? Oh, Dorian sharp 4.
Yeah, that's Dorian.
Okay, I see. So the Dorian sharp 4 is, that's a mode.
Yeah, B flat harmonic major.
Harmonic major, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's his symbols for this particular tune.
Okay, but so I mean, those 4, like the B flat, like the 4 last ones,
yeah,
like there's no indication of time on the chart. It's
no. He does, like, like up here he has ×2 because they actually repeat this section before they go to here.
Mm-hmm.
So like he has little things like that he'll put. I've seen like I think on 16 Minutane or something. He had the number 2, so it would say X2, meaning 2 bars of this particular thing or this particular chord or whatever.
So this whole system of writing is just basically scale names.
Yeah, it's just scales.
And then like he will sometimes write a root note with the scale.
Right. Yeah, like the major.
For an unknown reason.
Yeah, for unknown reason. I don't know.
But why. I mean, the fact that he's spelling out the diminished, like that actually makes a lot of sense to me because, just looking at the guitar with diminished, sometimes I play the wrong shit.
Yeah.
So, to slice it up into 4 areas like that makes you, just looking at it, like less likely to clonk, to hit a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then even like, but wait a second, the B flat is add flat 3 flat 6 or add flat 6?
Just flat 6. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. And all those subsets are there with just the flat 6?
Yes.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Harmonic minor, harmonic major. I mean, there's also other ones he doesn't have on there. Hungarian minor.
G harmonic minor. Okay.
Yeah, G harmonic minor.
Yeah, so it's not like B flat harmonic. Okay.
No, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's that. And then this is the chart I made where you would have the actual chord symbol that humans use. And then I have his symbol above it.
Okay.
Just like the one I sent you,
that's
but
what you sent me. So yeah, I made the track sort of. Initially, I tried to play the chord that, like, my vocabulary, like, I can, like, reading the chart, a lot of these chords I have a lot of places to play, but like, just as you're improvising and playing over like B flat sus4 add 9, G minor flat 6 add 9, A minor 7 flat 5 over G, like, to play those kind of sounds, you end up in 1, 2, or 3 places on the neck, just responding to those symbols. If you're like, maybe 5, 6 places or 10, but if you're just moving scales, you're really improvising.
Right. Yeah.
But I did notice that, like, the last 2 measures, there are a lot of ways to make that change sound pretty bad.
Yep.
When you're voice leading over those like bass notes.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
it seems like he has some specific things he does.
He does specific. He has specific voicings that he's playing, over this stuff. Like in that last one, really, the bass player plays E flat over this. So
that's good to know.
It's more of that kind of sound, but I mean, somewhere else in the book I have that written. I think the chart that I sent you actually had that. I had bass notes underneath. So the lead sheet, like if you go to the lead sheet section of the book, I actually have the bass notes and the voicings and everything.
Okay.
So this was just the breakdown of the solo. So, and then this gets into that, right? So what he actually plays versus what the chart says, right? Is you'll see like in black here, this is what his chart says over here. So here's the symbol and the corresponding scale.
You're saying in the first A, he's sticking to it.
Yeah, so he's sticking to it.
I see how you dissected it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then like here he plays E Dorian instead of A Dorian, which that's over the G major 6/9 chord or whatever, so it just gives him the sharp 11, right? No big major deal. And then here he adds a note to Dorian and gets the B flat jazz dominant, right? But it's really just adding a note to Dorian. And then here we got like he added a note, and there's a couple different ways to look at it. So I have like some different ways that you could be looking at it, or that he could be thinking about it, right? It was like C mode 7, which D half whole diminished is a subset of, and then the D, flat jazz major add flat 6 scale, which is a 6 diminished scale. So it makes sense to use it over a diminished chord. And then
I see. So a lot of time I see that like when it's like when it's supposed to be G Dorian, he'll go and play like a parallel thing that's kind of one note different, like the G Dorian is playing C Dorian.
Yeah, it's interesting because like every time that comes up, that one he plays C Dorian. So, and it makes sense because the voicing actually has a flat 6 in it. So I don't know if the symbol was like a mistake on his part, because the voicing's something like that.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was like the G Dorian was a mistake, or maybe there's an older version, like the older version of the tune that's on Road Games. I never really dissected that one, so I don't know. Maybe that's got like maybe the flat 6 isn't in the chord or whatever. But anyway, then we get into like some jazz major add flat 3, flat 6 phrases and stuff. What was it? Yeah, so like that's part of that phrase. Am I loud as shit or what?
Sounds good.
Anyway, that's the major flat 6 phrase that he plays. Then like this is pretty interesting because F sharp Dorian is what his chart says, but he actually plays C sharp Dorian. He plays this. So, I mean, that gives him like, a flat 9 on that chord. But those two chords are also a subset of B jazz dominant add 7. So I think he's kind of thinking of that scale, like one of the 8-note scales, and it's just, but every note of C sharp Dorian is in that line.
Okay.
So here's like a major flat 6 phrase that he plays. What was it? Yeah, that thing. So. So then that, right, that's right out of, I don't know if you want me to keep sharing the screen or play some of this stuff and talk about it or whatever.
Yeah, maybe show us what you're doing.
Yeah, so like, so like that line. Where is it? here's this thing we talked about.
Yeah, the major 7
This
shape.
arpeggio thing, like how many times that comes up. Like in this phrase, it's in there. So there it is right there. Here it is right here. So right there, he's switching to this chord. So what was it? Shit, hang on a minute. So I got to play it from the top. So then he goes into that stuff. So this is straight bebop scale.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Then he goes into that, it's just Lydian, but it's like those sus triads, right?
Yeah. So
anyway,
whole step.
that's some of those phrases, and you can kind of see how he's navigating and switching keys and
so
scale to another.
In terms of like how the solo progresses, like as he moves forward in the solo, it sort of gets like more and more dense with like pivoting.
Oh yeah, it's like faster lines.
No, but I'm talking about like the switching of the mode of like the scales during like.
What do you mean?
Like weaving like inside the space that like a chord is played, like going into like more exotic scales and like those.
Oh yeah, I mean it's really in this tune. It's not like a lot of that. I mean it's really he's just the main thing he's doing is the adding a note to the to Dorian to Dorian to get like the bebop scale, right? Mm-hmm. But he's doing it over Lydian, which gives you the flat 9 over the Lydian chord. He does that a lot in this tune, and then
you're saying like playing Lydian with an added flat 9.
Right. That's one way to look at it. Yeah. Right. So you could look at it that way, or you could look at it as Dorian with an added note, or the major scale with an added note, or whatever. But it ends up being the dominant bebop scale is what it ends up, the typical name for it.
Yeah.
And then there's like, that one where he's playing C sharp Dorian over that. But his chart says F sharp Dorian, I mean, that's interesting. And I don't know exactly what he's thinking there. My assumption is that he's thinking of the 8-note scale that's got both of those in it, and it's just drawing from that, But and then there's like in the diminished lines and stuff, there's like some cool intervallic stuff that he does. Like one of the patterns I was going to tell you I thought you should do Holdsworth pattern on was like, so it's like fourths and minor thirds.
Starting where?
On A. Then C.
Oh, that's cool. That's in tritones?
Right.
And that's all. Are all those notes inside the?
Yeah, diminished.
That is cool.
Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, in the Mode 7 is like a typical choice there over like what he would consider diminished, because diminished.
Yeah, like C mode 7. Yeah, like he's adding notes. Like at the end of that phrase, which I can't even remember, so don't ask me to play.
No.
But in the end of that phrase, he actually adds a note. And I couldn't really determine whether he was thinking mode 7 or he was thinking of the 6 diminished scale or not, because it could be either one, you know, because he didn't play every note of mode 7. He's just adding a note to the diminished scale.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So
can we talk about for a second about, like, this tune doesn't have that, but like reading the charts of the rest of them and wanting to make backing tracks, like I did notice like a ton of stuff has like a measure of 7/8 or a measure of 9/8 or a measure of 5. And man, that shit makes me feel inadequate, because it throws me off. Like, it's just and since I got to design the level of challenge for myself in my band, you know, it's like we've sort of always had, like, we would have tunes in 5, but it would be like a 5/4 would be easy. You know what I mean? It's just like, as long as you get used to like how it felt, you could just not think too much and just play like
5 or something.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a funky take 5. You know, it's like we'd have changes, but like it wasn't like playing through like an obstacle course.
Right.
Like, how do you approach those kind of things? Like, where it's
odd time signatures, like
not odd time signatures, but like, you know, that weird thing where you said it's like a new one, like just anticipations and like just unrelated bar, like all of a sudden you have like a bar of 5 in a form.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I have to spend time like working on those sections of a tune, you know. So if there's a tune like that, like when I had worked on trying to solo over low levels, you know, a while back or whatever, I had to freaking loop a few bars and then just try to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and you just start to get used to the tune and the feel and the vibe, you know?
Yeah.
But like I said, like to Alan, or like Gary Husband was talking about, Alan would a lot of times just say, you know, just needs to hold a little longer right there. And that's all Gary Husband would get. It needs to hold a little longer right there. You know, like Alan didn't say it was in 7/8 or 9/8 or anything. He just said, hold it a little longer right there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of drummers that you would play with these days, like, play so polyrhythmically that like they wouldn't mark shit like that very clearly when they're improvising, especially when your solo is building. So just like, don't fucking trust people to play it in a way that, you know what I mean? Because like, you play it with a track or you loop a section, it's one thing. But, you know, somebody like gets into a measure of 7 and they kind of like crash on beat 2, and then you're like, oh, fuck.
yeah. Well, yeah, man. I mean, like, the drummer I used to play with in my metal band actually did stuff like that all the time. He was always trying to throw in all these polyrhythms and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, we used to rehearse stuff like that where we just play this riff over and over and he would just play all this fucked up shit over it, you know, and we were all just struggling to, you know, keep the riff tight.
Yeah, that shit's hard. I mean, I hate like when you have to like play like a syncopated part behind a drum solo, and it's like really syncopated, and they're just doing like something like, you know, awful, and you're just like trying to like for dear life not lose it. It's like, man, like, I always have the same kind of existential thoughts on stage when I'm playing behind that kind of stuff. It's like, this isn't, I'm not sure this is music. I'm not sure this is what it feel like. You know what I mean? Like, holding on to for dear life.
Yeah. I mean, like doing it on drums, man, like, you know, I mean, I'm not like a great drummer, but I've played drums throughout off and on throughout since I was like 14 or whatever. So, you know, it's easier to do that stuff on drums because typically, you know, your limbs, because you have 4 limbs going, so you're, like the hi-hat's on 4, if it's on like quarter notes or whatever, or it's on all the upbeats, you know what I mean? There's just, those guys are playing all the subdivisions,
Right.
you know what I mean? Somewhere, like all those subdivisions are going on, and it's easier to keep track for them than it is for, you know what I mean?
For you, right? Just
to have to play along with it. Right.
Exactly.
And there's certain stickings and stuff too. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but like this drummer has like a whole sticking system based on odd groupings and stuff, so it's similar to like paradiddles and stuff like that, but it's like, so like right, left, left, that's 5, right? So, and you move that around the kit, or you orchestrate it in a certain way, where it's a groove. They orchestrate that into a groove, and then like, it's a lot easier to deal with when you're the drummer, and you're actually playing all the subdivisions and all that stuff,
Yeah. I remember when we were doing one of the Holdsworth tours, I was like doing sound check, and Virgil and I play drums well into our sound check. He just likes playing drums.
Yeah.
So like we were like jamming for a second, and I was playing like I felt like it was like something like that, just like a typical thing I do when I set my amp. And he was jamming along, and like within 2 seconds, it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's like that was in like, I don't know, that's in like 51. And that's just like, it felt even worse than that.
Yeah. Virgil's a freak, man. Like he's probably like the Holdsworth of drummers, with like all the crazy shit he does.
He does weird shit. It was really weird. He's Australian. He has a lisp, and all he does is sits and eats goji berries all day. It's like, if you smoke weed and spend some time with him, it looks like it's like some Australian lizard. Like,
yeah. I mean,
gojis. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But like, I come up with exercises and stuff to try to help me with that. And I play drums to try to help me with that kind of stuff. But, that stuff is really hard to talk about, really, because it's like, it's just something people have to investigate, you know what I mean? And like, if my students come to me for something like that, then I have exercises I can give them to do, work on, but
sure.
But yeah, it's a hard thing to teach, I guess.
Now let's talk about just like, if you were to comp through like Tokyo Dream and just move some of these scales around, like what, and not trying to like, do what Alan did, but like just try to like play through it. What are some of the things that are like natural for you in terms of like moving chords?
Well, like a lot of fourth voicings and stuff like that. I like that kind of thing. Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock and like all that kind of crap,
That's literally exactly what I do now.
Yeah. So, like,
you get to the diminished stuff. What are some of the go-tos like on that D-diminished?
See, what is some diminished stuff that I do? And probably nothing crazy, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything like super nuts that I do.
No, I mean, it's in the flow of time. It's kind of like hard to, you tend to just do the normal shit. I noticed. Like,
yeah, I mean,
like everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if there was, if I wanted to do something there that was nuts, I'd probably have to work something out, Yeah,
I mean, I was doing some of the stuff like when I was comping, like just these kind of things with
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's the stuff typical. Yeah, I play those all the time. That kind of stuff.
Now, what for the last few chords in the chart, like when it goes to that B flat with the flat 6, what are the voicings there, like that Alan's playing, like in the song for the last 4 measures?
Well, hang on a minute. I have to probably pull that up.
Yeah.
I have that right here. Hang on a minute. He plays the last 4 bars, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's like the. I know.
Just triads?
Yeah, it's just triad stuff. Right. 11 to. Yeah.
Okay.
E flat in the bass on that one. That's what the bass player plays.
So like D over E flat.
Yeah, it's just you know, in that section right there, he's just playing. I mean, the chords that he's playing are just, you know, inversions of triads, and then the bass player's playing. I think he plays the root, like or whatever, the same root Alan's playing, right? Which is the 5th for that one. Except for that last one where he plays the E flat.
Now, when you see Alan playing lines that are coming from like just a bebop scale, what do those tend to be? Like, you know, like on that section, like where it goes to that B flat with the flat 6.
Well, like, yeah, he does that one that I was doing. Right, so there's that one, and then let me see this. What was the last one he does?
Like the question, the reason I'm asking, because like I saw that like on the chart, like you listed those subsets. Do you see sections where, you know, he's actually using something that's distinctly like one of those?
Not in this particular solo, I don't think so.
Okay.
He's pretty much just playing out of that the 8-note scale.
So if you have to guess, like the reason to write it down that way is just because seeing something from a few angles kind of gives him a complete vision of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just other options to have if you wanted to like get a more a different sound, you know.
Yeah, but it's like it's interesting because it's like for me, like the thing, especially like I saw it more clearly even with the diminished thing. It's like even if just seeing that on paper, like it sort of gives me like a fuller representation of the whole neck.
Yeah,
right? It's like if you tell me D diminished, like I have my places of playing D diminished, but if you tell me like D, B, A flat, F diminished, immediately I just kind of see these 4 slices of it. So I'm wondering if like just calling something, you know, naming the subsets like that just lights up different.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like certain things that it for him, you know, in those scales.
Yeah.
He has like certain ideas in each one of those or whatever. And so, but in this tune, like, let me double check the last 4 bars. Which is jazz major flat, G flat 6. Yeah, like he pretty much is playing like everything in this particular solo is out of that scale, like straight out of that scale.
Okay.
So, but there could be like the other version that's on Road Games or whatever. Potentially could have some other stuff on it. I don't know. I haven't analyzed that one, and I haven't heard it in a long time either. So, I don't know.
Let me ask you this, just to slide to a different subject for a minute, on a technical note, because yesterday me and Nick had we recorded a thing with Thomas, just talking about like his technique and the hammer-on kind of approach, which like he said that he does pull off, like everybody says that pull-offs are still a part of the thing. But I did notice one thing about like the difference between like my technical approach, and it's something I really never gave too much thought to until very recently, just hanging out with you crazy Texans. It's like I tend to keep my index finger sort of stationary when I'm playing legato, right? It's like I'll actually, like, if I'm hammering on, I'll leave my fingers behind and then I'll roll back.
Yep.
Like in your technique, like I see that you do, it's sort of like, sometimes I feel like I'm catching you do that, sometimes you're not doing that. Is that a very deliberate thing?
I don't think about it much.
Yeah. But do you ever do that thing where it's sort of like reversed hammer-ons, where like if you're descending to where like your index finger is off the guitar and just hammers on to get to a new string?
No, I don't hammer with my index finger hardly ever.
Yeah,
I never really worked on that. I always pick that note, or if I come up with patterns that are like, so that's no pick, right? Like that.
And every time you're starting on a new string, you would have to start with one of the other fingers.
One of the other fingers. It's usually like, right?
Yeah. See, I play like you. Okay. Yeah, because Thomas and NYXL don't play that way.
Yeah.
They really roll both ways. It's kind of like a seesaw when you look at their hand. Like even if they're playing like very hard for me to even do it that tempo, but like they'll hold their entire hand back and forth.
Yeah.
Is that a Zoomer thing?
I guess. I don't know.
You have to be on TikTok for that?
Maybe. We're too old, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, fuck. The cutoff must have been in the 80s.
Right? I don't know. I mean, like all that stuff is just,
Yeah.
That's how I play, man. I've been playing like that for way too long to fuck with it now.
Yeah, I'm trying to fuck with it. It's like, for me, it's completely unnatural, but like I do see the advantage, like, because what it made me do last night is I went and like re-looked at some old Sean Lane videos.
Oh yeah, I've been watching some of those lately.
Just to see and it's like, dude, that's like, if I were to say like one main difference between like, I mean, obviously there's more than one, but like a thing that you'd clearly see him do is constantly hammer on with his index finger, right? It's like all these like three, like these descending kind of line. It does, like everything starts with like a left hand tap on the index.
Does it?
Yeah, it's like I would say that's the main thing that's technically really nuts about that. Like the hammer-ons from nowhere, but like. But it's all like, letting go of that index finger and rolling it back.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, back in the 90s, I did a bunch of different techniques, and, I've messed with Frank Gambale and all the economy picking and sweep picking. And so I had his instructional video. I had the Sean thing. Learned a bunch of that stuff back then. But then over time, it was just kind of like, I had a lot of chops. But at the time when I had like really crazy chops, I felt like I didn't have the musicality or the harmonic knowledge that I wanted. Right. So then I spent a lot of time trying to get that. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got that, my chops are gone and I'm old. You know what I mean? So never had them together.
That's you got the chops. Come on, Fred. I mean, You have chops. You are old, but you have chops.
Yeah, I think I can still hang, but like, but it is, my chops and stuff are just like, I stopped worrying about all of that, how shit's being done, and I just naturally let my body do what it's going to do. Like I hear things a certain way, and I have like a particular sound I want to come out, and as long as that's coming out, like my body just does whatever it does, right? To do, like, there were times, I think even Thomas, when he was taking from me, he'd be like, well, what are you doing right there? Is that economy picking or whatever? And like, I don't even know. So I'd have to stop and play the thing really slow and look at it. And I go, oh yeah, it is. It's economy picking.
It is bizarre because it's, there seems to be like this, like almost for everybody I talk to, this approach to technique where it's just sort of a natural evolution of what feels comfortable to you.
Yeah.
But then you'll go and write a 1,500-page book about Holdsworth's no choice.
Yeah, that's way more interesting to me. I mean,
no, I know it's interesting. It's like, it's not like you're not an analytical person. You know what I mean?
No, well, I've analyzed it all in the past, right? Like I did, like I feel like I built my chops in my 20s and basically in my 20s. Yeah. Whatever I was doing back then is probably the same stuff I'm doing now, really, because it's like, there's no reason, there's nothing that I want to do that I can't do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like, there's not like a reason for me to, like, I know a lot of people are searching for techniques and stuff because they're trying to do something, right? There's something a sound they're trying to get, or they want to be able to pick like this guy or pick like that guy, or, and that's why they're actively seeking out those things. I never sought that out because like whatever I do has been the same since my 20s.
Yeah.
Right. So like, and it's like, I mean, my whole thing was chops from the time I was
like a teenager,
like 16 to 26, right? Ish is when 25, 26 is when I started being like, all right, I want to play jazz and stuff like that now and understand harmony and note choice. And I'm like, so like, yeah, man, I mean, my technique and everything was,
but talking about Alan, like, and his technique, like, I think I remember you saying that it is way more like I remember you were telling me that when you were learning the drums were yellow solo and actually playing it note per note, you were noticing like differences in well,
yeah, it was awkward
in the way you would approach legato and he would approach legato.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was way more awkward. Some of his fingerings and stuff like that are just way, not all of them. Some of them are like some of the ones I just played from this solo or whatever are like, I'd probably play it like that too, but then it's the ones that I'm talking about are like the stuff like that kind of stuff, And so, and like Alan, man, like, I haven't seen him hammer on with this finger. It seems to me from like watching, because I've watched like him play these types of phrases and stuff at like as slow as you can possibly get it to go on YouTube, right? Or on like my transcribe software that I have where I can upload a video. And I remember, my friend Daryl and I, there was one particular solo that he was transcribing and he was asking me, hey man, can you check this fingering and everything? And he was all like super interested in like what the picking was too, right? I never really was super concerned with how Alan picked things or how much he picked or whether he did pull-offs or not. Like I noticed that I hear pull-offs on certain things. And I noticed like when I'm analyzing stuff like to help Daryl or whatever, right? And I'm paying more attention that I don't see him hammering on with his first finger. He's picking those notes, right? So like this phrase, it's like pick, hammer, hammer, pick, hammer, hammer, pull, hammer from nowhere, pick, hammer, hammer, right? Hammer. It'll be like hammer, pull, pull, like that. Whatever. So like those phrases were like very awkward, man, when I first started trying to learn that shit. And like, I mean, they're still awkward. Like they're still kind of awkward. And I've spent a lot of time playing like that particular one.
So you're saying, but just to be clear, because I'm like 3 hours into practicing what may be a dead end now. So you think that's not integral to this style of playing, to the sound?
I don't think Alan's doing that. I haven't seen him do that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't noticed him do that when I'm paying attention. You know,
Nick, I think we can turn him and Thomas against each other. This is awkward. And I bring him on the call. Hear that? He's been hiding the whole time.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's like the hammer-ons that Alan does are like phrases like, you know, when he goes, you know, that kind of thing, or like he's picking those notes up and he's picking one and hammering one, right?
Yeah.
Hammer, pick, hammer.
Well, specifically, I would say, like, if you are playing a descending line that's 3 notes per string, would there be a universe with that those descending lines would be hammer-ons? Like, what?
So, like, yeah, no, I mean, it's like, so this phrase right here from this solo, what was it? So you see how he has these particular, this is why he goes across this way a lot of times, is because
free up the middle finger to start the hammer-on from nowhere.
You could play that line like instead of,
but then,
right? But because of where he ends up, you know, it's like, obviously I can't see him playing this line, but I've seen him play other similar things, right? So, you see, so it's like the hammer-ons are like that kind of thing. And it's one of the reasons why there's particular fingerings and stuff that he does. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where he's going across the neck like that, and like these movements where he's doing that kind of thing too. But I mean, it's like it's very particular things.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
100%.
So yeah, I don't think it's you know, if he was going like, he's not going to go hammer, 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 hammer. I mean, you can do it.
Right.
But like,
That's
I don't think he's doing it. I think he's picking those notes. The hammers come in like the particular way that he plays certain lines. And I think he plays those certain lines for that reason, because he's trying to play as many hammer-ons as he can, you know, because that's comfortable for him and it gives him the sound that he's going for.
Yeah.
You know?
Great. Okay, cool. Well, man, if you could include a few hammer-heavy examples in this week's packet, I think that would be pretty epic, as well as like that Tokyo.
Put this thing in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, just for people at home to just get used to like some technical things that are, you know, representative of the way, like just the physical way he gets across. Because I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that, you know, the hammer-ons from nowhere, especially like, you know, for people like me who that's not a part of our vocabulary. It's like it's a major hang up to get used to, like,
Yeah, that's a hard thing.
quality of these lines. Awesome, man. Well, great. We touched on a lot of good shit, and I'm gonna try to keep plowing through those backing tracks and make some more.
Right on.